Welcome to an episode of Sawdust Nation Podcast, episode 212. Today, we have our guest host, Ben, for Beach Time Woodworks. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
You should recognize that name because he's been talked about a lot on the podcast, and he's actually been a guest host before. We have Tim. He's off doing some family matters, and then I believe Nap is doing some shop stuff. So it's just going to be me and Ben tonight, and we're going to kick it off by asking Ben, what's going on in your shop, man?
Wow. Well, I've been doing some catch-up. I've been down for a while with some medical issues with another family member, my wife. So I haven't been real busy in my shop, but my wife is doing much better. And so I've got to be able to catch up on some things. I had some baby plaques that I needed to get done. And so I got about 6 of those done here in the past week and a half. I've actually changed up a couple of things on them to get more detail than I have had in the past. Really excited about that. I did extend my time in cutting those by a couple hours, but the end result for me is the quality of that product. And we always talk about quality of the product that you're pushing out. And for me, I'd rather have that quality than the time. So obviously you can't, have all time and and not get paid for it. But I do okay with this. So, and the customers are extremely happy. So I'll be putting an Instagram post on those here coming up in the next week or so. Personally, I also made a cabinet. We always do things for everybody else, and sometimes we don't take time to do things for ourselves, right? So my wife has been wanting a new shelf in the laundry room. Previously, a shelf had been there from her father, and it'd been there for probably about 40 years. And so we took that old shelf out, put a new shelf in. I had another woodworker come over. His name is Terrell. Some of you guys may have heard of him. And he came over, and we knocked that out, put it up. And then that was about 2.5 weeks ago. And then this past week, I decided to trim it out. And so we had used birch plywood for the cabinet itself, and it's just an open shell. I call it a cabinet. It's just an open shell box hung on the wall. But I trimmed it out with sapelli, which is an African mahogany, and then I took it a step further and put it on the laser machine and engraved some flowers and some scroll work type stuff and trimmed it all out. I'll also be putting that on the Instagram. And so finished it up about midnight Saturday. The wife woke up on Sunday, got to see it then, and was really surprised. So that was a good Sunday morning to have that surprise for her. So really excited about that. Got to have a couple other things in the works. I've got 2 cutting boards that I'm fixing to start on this week, and so get those going. And then another personal project of mine, I am going to be doing another 3D carving of what I guess a lot of people call them tree man or forest green man, where like it's a face in the tree, in the bark.
Gotcha.
Type deal. I've done a couple in the past, and I've done them about 1.5 inches out of 8/4 wood. And this time I'm taking some 8/4 wood to do this with, but the total model itself is going to be done in 4 inches. So it's really going to stand out. And I am actually going to be slicing the model, which is going to be my first attempt at slicing with the Aspire software. I've seen it done. I've had friends do it. I've never personally done it. And I said, why am I not trying it? I've seen it. I know how to do it, but let's give it a shot. And so this is something I've really wanted to do for a while. So it's going to be about a 38-hour carve. As most people know, I take my time with my carves. I do extreme detail with them. My step over ratios, people say I'm crazy. But the other thing that most people know about me is Ben doesn't like sanding. And so I will spend the time sanding on the machine versus me doing the sanding.
So I know you have step overs that are not normal to most woodworkers that run a CNC and do 3D carving. But let me tell you, I saw that baby plaque you did the other day, and the amount of detail, and then the fact that you never touched it with sandpaper is truly amazing. Like, how can I explain this to people that have not seen this picture? It is smooth. It looks like it was finished with 320 or higher. I mean, like, it is. You wouldn't know it came from the CNC ready to go. So, their CNCs are so capable. It depends on what you exactly want to do with them. I've even heard tales of you using different other bits on your CNC, so you didn't have to use a router. So, very capable if you're willing to take the time and learn it.
Yeah, I don't use a hand router for anything. And roundovers, obviously, when people think of roundovers, you get your router out. You do you round over. I put the roundover bit in the CNC and let the CNC do the roundover for me. It takes a few more minutes, but I don't have to do it, and I don't have to accidentally mess it up or accidentally get a jerk action or whatever the case may be, because it's perfect every single time. I've never ever had a blowout, never had a catch. It's perfect every single time, and you can get whatever.
That's crazy. Oh, it's truly amazing because, like, it makes sense, right? So if you don't know, you can put regular bits into your CNC. You just got to figure out the feet and speeds and depth for cut, right? So
Absolutely.
the three big things you got to figure out. How did you? I know we're kind of sidestepping from what you were talking about, but now you got to be really curious here. How did you figure out the feeds and speeds and like plunge rate and all that?
Okay, so the best way I can explain that is when you're buying bits from people, Amana Tools or Freud or whoever. One of the things that I in Whiteside are some of the bits I use, but they have a list that you can download, and it has the feeds and speeds and for you. So now the step over ratio is a completely different thing. I'm going to put that to the side for a second. So you have to remember one thing on the feeds and speeds when you buy these router bits from people. Those are designed for people that have production machines.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to use what they recommend right off the bat, you're going to snap a bit. You're going to gouge your wood. It is not going to be pretty. So you have to learn to bring that down. So what I normally do is I divide it in half. I start there as my point for feed and speed. Then at that point, I can adjust it from there, whether I go up or go down. Once I find, and I'm listening for the sound of how the bit sounds, that's important as well. And then also your chip size. A lot of people don't understand what chips are. That's a whole nother conversation. I would recommend Crisscross Crafts. Has an excellent YouTube video all about chips and the sizing. Wonderful deal. So, but once I get that, then I can just play with it at that point to find the best cut for that bit and for what I'm doing. Now, for step over ratio, starting out, everybody says 9 to 10 for a step over ratio. And for people that don't really understand what a step over ratio is, best way I can describe it is take, when you're mowing your yard, the first pass is 100%. I was taught as a kid, you move it over 50%. You cut 50% already cut, 50% uncut. And and you continue, mowing your yard. So that would be the step over ratio. Again, the starting point is somewhere between 9.0, 10.0. That is going to give you the smoothness that you want, or the texture. It's going to give you some texture where you have to sand. It's quicker. You can get through it. If you don't mind sanding, you can sand it real quick. The problem is when you start doing the detail work that I do, similar to the clock behind me, the detail is you can't get in there with the sander, even with the surf sanding, the sponges stuff. A lot of people go with Dremel tools. Well, I got big, bulky hands, and I can't handle a little teeny tiny tool without just messing things up. So I started experimenting and going down with my step over ratios. I've got it down. My average step over ratio for every single project now is at a 6.3, which is unheard of. Most people never go below 7. It does take time, and it's exponential on your time. It's not just, oh, well, here's an extra 20% time. No, it's exponential. So that's where your feed and speeds come in again on top of that. Because if you're doing a step over ratio very small, then you can increase your speed in your feed because you're going over the same spot over and over again. So you can go by it faster. However, that plunge rate that we've talked about in the past, you have to equal the X and Y, obviously, but the Z with the plunge rate. So if you're going so fast on an X, for example, if you're going up and down the X axis and you plunge it and it's not equaling the same, then you're going to skip details. So you have to slow it down enough to find that speed. And again, 7.1 to 9, you're going to get a really good detail. You'll have to do a little sanding depending on what type of wood you use, whether it's a really hard wood or a soft wood, but you can get by with that. Again, I don't like sanding, so I've gotten all the way down to 6.3 on average. For these baby plaques I did a 5.1, and I went from basically 6.5 hours to 10 hours on time. So it took a little more time to do it, but again, the detail, and I was using a 32nd of an inch tapered ball nose bit. So you guys need to remember when you're talking about step over ratio, it's the step over ratio is the width of the bit that's going across. So, 5.3% of a 32nd of an inch. That's not much.
Not much at all.
Not much at all. But the detail, and again, I'm going to be posting that, some pictures of that on Instagram in the next day or two. I encourage everybody to look at those pictures because the feathers on the stork, you can see every single detail, and the stork is only 1 inch tall, but you've got 12 to 15 feathers, and you can see every single one of them. They're that good of a detail. Not only did I get the eye on the stork, but you can see the pupil of the eye. So it's rather incredible. The feet, you can see all the wrinkles in the feet. And when people see this picture, I wish I could pull it up and show it to you, but you're going to be impressed, I think. I hope so. And that's what I'm going to be doing going forward. But again, I want that quality product. I spend the extra time. I don't mind doing it. If you're going to do 3D carving and you really want it well, you're not going to get paid for all your time. And we've talked about this, and I've heard about this on the podcast as well. Yes, you want paid for what you do, but you also got to remember, as artists, you don't always get paid for everything all the time that you do put into things. It's either a love of your labor and love of the craft, or you're out there for the money. And if you're out there for the money, you're not going to give that. I'm not going to say you don't get quality products from people like that. However, I think you get better quality products for people that do it for the love of the craft.
No, I think you're on something there. And like the level of detail you did achieve in your last piece I saw is truly incredible. There's something to be said about giving time to the piece versus trying to hurry it along. And I think you have definitely found that balance, at least for yourself and the level of detail that you're achieving. So how long did it take you to figure that out? How many pieces do you think?
I would say this the last time around, and I just said, I'm just going to try it and see how it comes out because I knew it was going to take more time. The 6.3 is what I've been averaging. It probably took me about 4 months of all the projects that I did to gradually just keep coming down and keep coming down on the step over until I got to a point that I said, okay, I'm happy with this. If there is any sanding, it's usually because of the grain of the wood and the way it crosses or swirls. And sometimes you'll get what I call the fuzz. Other people call it other things, but that's what I call it. Why are you laughing?
Because that's going to be the episode title, The Fuzz.
But that's going to happen every so often. But it took me about 4 months to realize all the projects that I've done over all these years to get to that point. And again, it also depends on the type of wood you're using. That can change. On a super hard wood, I can go a little higher, but on a softer wood, I have to go a little lower, a little slower. That does change things. Absolutely.
I haven't done much 3D carving. I'm still kind of struggling with my machine. But I definitely have tried your step over. And the little bit of sampling I got from it, definitely it crosses over to different machines.
Yes.
It definitely does. Now, I know we've talked about this when you were on, I think, the first time, but I think it's worth bringing back up. You didn't start like normal people on a CNC. No. You jumped over everything into 3D carving.
I did.
Is that correct?
That is right. And just so everybody knows real quickly, I have an Axiom machine. So it is a 2 foot by 4 foot. It's the Pro Series. That's what I bought starting out. I went to a class that Axiom puts on to teach the Aspire software. And the first class is all about 2D carving and vectors and how to carve simple signs with V-bits. And I got with the instructor who turned out to be, his name was Michael Mazalik. And I said, look, this is great, fantastic. I don't want to do that. I want to do 3D carving. How do you do 3D carving? He goes, well, you got to come to class 2, and then you got to come to class 3, and then we'll get into 3D carving. And so I said, how do I skip over all that and just go straight to 3D carving? And so I kind of took some private lessons from him. We became actually very, very good friends. I still talk to him once or twice a week. And he taught me how to do things. The other thing is YouTube, in this particular instance, can become a really good friend to learn how to do a lot of your 3D carving stuff. And Michael Mazalik has a YouTube channel, and not only does he teach you how to do 3D carving, he actually teaches you how to make a 3D model, and he takes it step by step. He's got everybody always asks, well, how do I make a badge? Because that's everybody's favorite. Everybody wants to make a badge, right? He actually takes 5 videos. They're about 20 minutes long each. And over those 5 series, you can learn how to make a badge. And once you get the basics of the badge down, that basics transfers over to every other badge that you'll ever make. So you've already got it halfway done once you do the first one. You're just changing the other stuff and the other details, whether it be the lettering, whether it be leaves, crown, whatever, a ribbon. That's all extra. But the base of the badge itself, once you get it, then you can do everything else from there. And he teaches you. One big point that I would like to point out, every video he says this, and I'm going to repeat it. He gets credit for it. But he says, and this is how you do it. It's just that simple. And then he does this disclaimer. It may take you a little while to get like this, so where you can say it's simple. He's been doing it for 12 to 15 years. And
it's almost second nature.
It is. It makes you sick. But he's right. You just have to keep practicing and that's what he says over again. Just practice it. Just keep practicing over and over. And if you do his the badge, and then he has an Air Force badge as well that has the feathers and everything else, and he teaches you how to take a picture of a feather, import it into Aspire, turn it into a 3D model, and put the effects by sculpting it and doing everything else. Aspire has so many features that people don't realize that they can do. The other part of that is it takes time to learn it. And a lot of people want to just jump into something. They have, I'm just going to do this, and that's great. But if you want to expand your horizon, you have to learn more. And it takes time to do that. Nothing ever happens very quickly, or it never has for me. Now, V-carve signs, there's a little skill involved there. I'm not going to say there's not, because there is. However, you can knock that out pretty quick, and you can make those all day long. And it doesn't take but an hour and a half, depending on what you're doing for a V-carve. You can do a V-carve simple in 10 minutes or less, depending on the design and how much it is and what you're doing. Or you can try to challenge yourself and turn it into a 10-hour project. It just depends on what you want to do. And that's where what I found was doing the 3D carving. And again, I had to work backwards from that. So a lot of the things that you guys do and that I hear on the podcast a lot is y'all talk about these different projects. And it's like, well, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that, but I can do the 3D carving, so.
Yeah, you choose your skill set, kind of.
You choose your skill set. I just mentioned building the cabinet, the box shelf for my wife. Well, I didn't want to do a simple box shelf. I mean, I could take 2 pieces of wood, I put a screw through it, and call it a day. That's not what I wanted to do. I didn't do dovetails, but I wanted to learn how to do a little bit more to it. So, Josh was here in Texas last summer, right?
Yeah, it was last year around this time. Yeah,
he taught me how to use a pocket jig, the pocket hole jig.
You finally used.
Well, first off, I have to say you can't put that on the CNC. It doesn't work. There's no attachment for that to go on the CNC. But yeah, I got the pocket jig out. You'd be so proud. And we actually put the pocket hole jigs in, and we put the wood, together and made it match up real nice. Terrell does shadow boxes. He does hat presses, and he's really good at that stuff. Like you and Knapp and several other people. But that's not my thing. I don't do that. I've never done it. So for me, starting out, it's kind of like you guys doing 3D for the first time. If that makes sense. And I'm like, I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to have to practice this. I want to just be able to jump into it. And that's not the way it goes, as you know. So, I'm having to teach myself some basics of woodworking without a machine, without the help of the software. And it's a lot different. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it because I see all the possibilities that I can do. And I actually am my next personal project after this 3D tree man type carving that I'm going to be doing is I've decided to make a new cabinet door or try out a new cabinet door. But in the cabinet, I'm going to put a 3D carving in the center of it.
Nice. That'd be pretty cool.
And I'm going to customize it to go at my RV that I have down on the beach. So I'm going to incorporate a coastal design into the cabinet.
That's going to be really cool.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. So it may take me a little while to get there because there's a lot of videos on how to do these cabinets using CNC machines. They have cabinet software that you can use. But there's some other things that I can use and integrate with Aspire to do that. So that's something I'm going to attempt to do.
You're going to aspire to do it?
I am.
Now, talking about when I was down there last year, because you're absolutely right. It would have been June, July. We did a badge together.
We did.
A little bit of 3D carver. Yes, we
did do a badge. It took a little while. And Josh got to see the step over ratio and how important that is. And there was one, I think there were 2 sections on that badge that we actually had to sand. And I was kind of cussing about it, and Josh had fun poking fun at me and taking a video. He said, "I've caught Ben sanding."
Once in a lifetime. And I believe you did look at me and say, "It'll never happen again."
I did. But we were a little bit of a rush on that one, and but it came out really nice, and I learned a lot of things from you on that, because we took some the plexiglass or the acrylic, because Josh, I had just gotten my laser at that point. So Josh is teaching me how to use my laser, and he taught me a very important lesson, that you don't hit the start button when you have the laser at a higher percentage, and watch it burn your badge that you just took off the CNC. And both of us were about ready to cry. And Josh goes, I got this. And he took some acrylic and he spray painted it black. I just got into the lasering thing, so I didn't know anything about this. And then he engraved names into it, turned it over, put it in place of where the burn mark was. There was no burn mark anymore. He hit it completely.
It's amazing how that happened. The future's gone. I remember that, because what we were trying to do, if you're familiar with the laser in operation with Lightburn, we were trying to outline the area to make sure. And instead of outlining, I think it was I pushed play instead of outline, and that's how that happened.
Yeah.
But ended up looking really sleek.
That's what it was. Black. Frame and start. Yeah. Frame versus start. Yeah. And next thing you know, it's cutting the line.
Ben's like, I can start one right now. I'll be ready in the morning, and then we can finish it tomorrow. And I'm like,
I was like, I'll stay up all night. Don't worry about it. We'll redo it.
No, I'm like, nope, I messed up enough where I know how to fix this. You hide it with acrylic.
And it actually came out better, I think.
It did. I definitely like the contrast between the two.
Yeah. And, that brings up another point. Don't be afraid of your mistakes. And people's, I say this all the time. It's kind of become my motto. That's character. That's another $10. So
there you go. You got to account for inflation, so maybe 15.
But some of your blemishes turn into, or mistakes that you make, not on purpose, or things that just happen, turn into something that you would never have thought of. Or, you take the acrylic and you add that to the piece, so it embellished it even more. Don't be afraid of your mistakes. Take a look at it. If you have to redo something, use that as a last resort. But think of some other ways you can incorporate that into your piece, because it may end up being that may make it just that much more, have much more personality, character to it, whatever it could be. Now, one thing that I do that several makers do not, including one of the hosts on this program, does not like. And I always like to have a little bit of a flaw in every piece that I do. That's just me. I think for me, it adds personality, adds character, and it says it's handmade. It didn't come off the Walmart shelf. It didn't come from Amazon. It didn't come from China. There's a little flaw. Now, sometimes that flaw is really hard to see. Sometimes it's kind of there. But that's what I like, and that's me as an artist, and everybody is an artist that's in this type of work. So you as an artist decide what you want and what's acceptable to you. Now, if you have a customer, obviously they're paying for something. They want good quality work. I'm not saying my stuff isn't quality work. The little flaws that I'm talking about are very, very minimal. You can't notice them unless you're really another woodworker that has a microscope, a magnifying glass, can probably find something. And we can always pick somebody else's work apart if we want to. Or I would have done it this way, or I would have done that. Or you see, he didn't do this. And I'm guilty when I first got in this business of doing that. I would always try to find everybody's flaws. I can do that better. And everybody says, I can do that better. Well, do it better. Challenge yourself and do the same thing and make it better. At least they're trying. At least they're doing something. Don't knock a brand new woodworker. Encourage that person. Let them develop. They may not develop as fast as you. They may not have the skill set that you do, but you can encourage those folks. And that goes back to this podcast. And what it's always been about is that community and encouraging everybody and letting them know that there's other people out there that can help out. I have called several people on this podcast to help me with certain things over the last year and a half. I have. Yeah. And that's important to me because you get that community and they respond, so I appreciate it. And I say thank you. So if you're one of those folks that helped me out, thank you very much. If you're not, I need your number so I can call you.
Victor's in the YouTube chat and he's like, in that case, when it comes to the flaws, he's Picasso. And I'm like, I am too.
I love it. I don't see the chat. There's a chat section here.
Yeah, it's not on Riverside. It's on YouTube.
Sorry.
Patreon link.
Gotcha.
It's all good.
I'm usually on the other side, see? So I'm the one typing all the stuff. I don't.
I got you now. No, so you bring up a few really good points, and I do want to hit on them myself as well. Learning from your mistakes and being able to move on and trying different things to cover those mistakes or better the project is something I took a long time to learn. When I first started, I would just get frustrated and I would almost make the project look worse by trying to fix it too soon, not giving myself a cool down period and time to think. Now, I like to say that I've been in the shop long enough where when a mistake happens, I can look at it and be like, oh, I've done this before, or I have come across something similar where I know which direction to go. Mm-hmm. And that kind of leads into your second point. We're trying to develop other new woodworkers or other woodworkers. Reach out to a friend. There's been plenty of times where I've reached out to fellow woodworkers and said, hey, I have this problem. I don't know what to do. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's easy. Just do this. It took someone else, a different set of eyes, and to look at the problem and develop a fix that I couldn't see because I was too close to it. So if you're not at the stage where you can sit back and be like, oh, I've done this before, I could fix it this way, or you laser engrave a 30-hour project that was on the CNC and you didn't mean to, take a moment, think about it, don't panic, get right back into it. You made some great points. I just wanted to, add a little to that as well. But yeah, we all help each other. That's the whole point of a community is I have called you and asked you questions. You've helped me with projects and vice versa. So,
and for anybody that's out there, if you want to contact me, I have an Instagram. You're welcome for Beach Time Woodworks. Feel free to DM me. I'll do the best I can to help you or point you in a direction that would better explain things. The 3D carving stuff, again, if you have a few minutes, go to that Michael Mazalik, Mezalick, go to his YouTube channel. Those 3D videos will teach you more than I can teach you in 2 weeks. He can do it in 20 minutes. And
I'll be posting a link to your Instagram page as well to Michael's. I know he doesn't like Mike.
It is Michael.
It's hard for me because I do have a brother named Michael as well. We obviously call him Mike. So anyway, I digress. I'll be including those links in the description. So when you listen to the podcast, you should be able to go right in there, click, and direct you right there. So
fantastic. And every time you hit Michael's link, just tell him he owes me $5.
I wish I could put a sound to it. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I can hear him right now. He's sending me a bill. He's typing up a bill for me.
Now, your relationship with Michael is interesting. His background is very diverse and different than most makers.
Yes.
I know he's not currently on here, but if you can, why is he so qualified for what he does on YouTube?
Wow. Okay. So Michael, how do you say it? He's one of those individuals that will dive into something to learn something and will dedicate 150, 200% of his time to learning something new. A lot of people just don't do that. He does. Those individuals are very unique, and they will take all the time that they have, whatever it is, spare time they have, and learn a new program, a language, whatever it is they're trying to learn. He's one of those individuals. So he started out his career and still is doing his career as a stained glass maker. And he went to Scotland and Ireland to learn how to make stained glass the old way. He doesn't use new techniques. He does everything the old way. And as he is a renowned refurbisher of stained glass artwork for churches. And a lot of the churches that he does have stained glass that are, 80, 100 years plus years old. They will remove them, clean them, restore them, create new pieces, whatever it is, and then refurbish that church. One of the churches that he was refurbishing had a complete inside woodscaping, wood interior, and they came to him and said they want him to do that. So he contacted some folks to subcontract it out, and they wanted so much money that he just said, I'm going to do it myself. He bought a CNC machine. He learned how to use the software, and he ended up doing all of the woodwork himself and then refurbished that church. So that's how he started it out. And, creating those 3D models, very similar to what I did. He didn't start with the simple stuff. He went straight for the gusto, and he accomplished in over 12 years time, 15 years time, he became so well versed with that he is and still is one of Vectric's folks. The word escapes me at the moment. When they create the new software versions and stuff, everything they have a list of folks they send it to try to find every flaw in the system. And he's one of those guys. You will find that he can do things in Aspire that no other maker can do, because he has learned so much about Aspire and has entwined himself so much into it that he can manipulate the software to do what he wants. And even Aspire says when he does something, they will call him out and say, you didn't do that with our software. You used other software to do it. And then they challenge him to show him how he did it, which he does. And it can be a little contentious relationship at times. But I think in the end, it's unique, because all he's doing is showing what can be done with their software. He's just that good. That's how. And so when you ask me what qualifies him, I think any individual that does really great work, they qualify themselves by the work that they do and what they put into it and how much they dedicate themselves to doing that. So yeah, that's how I would describe Michael. And a friend.
Only...
Oh, I think
sorry,
we
I didn't mean
just
to step on you there.
I thought we lost you there.
No, hotel Wi-Fi for the win.
Hotel Wi-Fi, gotcha. Hotel Wi-Fi 1, Josh 0. Okay. Now I know why he's got me on here, is to fill in the voids.
No, what? Can you hear me still?
I can hear you now. Yes. Oh,
Okay.
he's a bit
So
choppy.
not only that, it's okay. I'll work out in the end. Not only that, but the way he instructs in his videos is
Yes.
easy for people to pick up and learn, at least for myself. You don't have to be an expert in Vectric to go ahead and listen to his video and then, carry on with that lesson.
And we were talking a lot about the 3D modeling, but also understand he also does the vector, the 2D carve, and how to do all that stuff as well. I mean, in reality, you need to learn the basics before you jump to 3D modeling. Not everybody can do what I did, and that's not because they can't. It's just it's much easier to learn the basics than to try to do something super hard.
Yeah.
It
makes sense. Stepping stones. Yeah, you just had a clear go for what you wanted to achieve with yours. And, honestly, when I first got my CNC, I did not know about 3D carving. That wasn't something that was really brought to light till later on. My passion right now when it comes to shop projects is really mixed media. So not just with the wood and lasering and stuff like that. It's with acrylic, epoxy, 3D printing, and how to integrate those different medias together, because there are a lot of great makers out there that have great examples of doing that. And it's just, once you start doing stuff like that, your capability for producing
Hotel Wi-Fi 2
skyrockets.
Josh is still 0, but that's okay.
I can see myself. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You went out and then you came back.
So the great thing about the program we use, it does a local recording, so it won't be choppy in my end. It's just choppy what you're seeing. So, but getting back to the multimedia, there's so much capability there, and I truly enjoy what that offers. And I've been doing a little bit more surfing than I have been in the past, because here my class schedule and everything is a little bit less demanding than at home. I've been able to go ahead and figure things out, and basically when I get back, I have some things I would like to test and continue on that path.
But I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, that's one thing I enjoyed about this whole entire journey was woodworking and all the media that we mess with. There's so much to learn. There's really no end to it. It's always, you could dive into it further. You can stay where you're at. And there are so many tools and resources out there, including Mike, his YouTube videos, and basically all the other makers out there producing those YouTube videos.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's truly amazing. You should be making some YouTube videos too.
Oh, no. My videos will be full of bleeps and beeps. And the other thing is, anybody that has seen any of my YouTube videos knows that I am not good with a camera. I don't know how to hold it right and do this and follow it around. I'm not good. It's something I would have to learn how to do. And I don't want to. Just rather
see that
rather
nothing wrong with that
it.
Whatsoever. Exactly. There are a special breed out there that do really well with instructional video and stuff like that. And I know some of those got me to where I am today because they inspired me to get on and Instagram, and then, here obviously, but it's been crazy thinking about the beginning and, here toward the end. So kind of getting into that theme real quick, I want to remind everyone the 30th of July, we'll be doing the giveaway, I'm calling it. We'll be doing a giveaway, and there'll be a host from the past and current doing an episode together. We'll be doing the giveaway toward the end of the episode. Only requirements are that, you subscribe to the channel and you're there during the giveaway itself, because we'll do a head count, or virtual head count, if you will. And you have to put here, and then we'll spin the wheel of doom, or the wheel of the giveaway. And, you'd be put in for a chance to win the item. So it's going to be a pretty decent giveaway. I hope to see everybody there. It's just a reminder. I'll be posting it in our Linktree as well, so you easy access there. And then, yeah. So with that, let's get into a little bit more woodworking and stuff like that. Now, Ben, you've learned the laser, you learned the CNC. You're constantly learning new things in the shop. You've already kind of hit on it a little bit. What is another huge lesson that you're looking at acquiring? Is it maybe a little bit of 3D printing in your future?
No, I am not going to do. You and Nat both have tried to get me into this 3D printing. You already got me the laser, so. But no, I am not doing 3D printing. That's not in my wheelhouse at this time. Let me put the disclaimer at this time. What I want to do is do some more traditional woodworking without the CNC or with the help of the CNC, but with doing some other things. And I think traditional woodworking probably is not the correct term, but doing some things that do not require the CNC as much. More table saw, miter saw, more band saw, more finer type stuff. And one of the things I'd mentioned back in December, actually, that I wanted to learn how to do, and I still am trying to find time. I just haven't been able to do it yet. But that is make some puzzle boxes. And I still want to do those puzzle boxes. I just think that'll be a lot of fun. Some good gifts for the family, good gifts for other people. And, maybe that might be a market. There's a lot of it out there. But you can incorporate the laser. You can incorporate the other materials you were talking about, such as the acrylic. So that's something but I got to learn how to make the puzzle box first, and the innards, and how the latches, and maybe some cog wheels, and different, all made of wood. I don't want to do it otherwise. I have seen some videos where people have put the little balls, the metal balls, stainless steel balls, and they use a magnet to move the balls around to open up the box. I found that intriguing. The little metal pins, even. So you can run them across and they open, so you can open up the lids and stuff. I saw a really cool design of a cabinet that the guy had put in one of those little mini refrigerators. And the whole outside of the cabinet, I don't know if anybody's seen this. This is really cool to me. The whole outside of the cabinet, he took 2x4s and he cut them all different lengths, and then glued them, and it looks like a shelf full of 2x4s sticking out of it. And then he walks over and he has a little magnet, and he moves the magnet over, and these 3 pins pop up, and he opens the door, and there's this mini fridge stocked with whatever beverage of your choice. I thought that was really neat. And so, something simple like that to start off with, maybe. But the more intricate, I don't want to get into the 50 move, 65 move puzzle boxes. For me, that's not entertainment. That's bring out the sledgehammer. Because I just don't have that kind of patience. Maybe 2 or 3, but with a hidden drawer, that kind of thing. So you can open up a little hidden drawer in there. That kind of thing. It reminds me of the toothpick holder that I'm sure everybody's seen on keychains. And back when I was lathe turning, I did several of those, and I gave them out as gifts to my kids one year for Christmas. And I rolled up a $50 bill and stuck inside it. It took them 3 to 4 months before they finally opened it up and found there was money inside. It was one of the best gifts I've ever done. Because I could just imagine the first kid finding it and then calling his brother and sister, and going, "Did y'all look in your toothpick?" And they're like, "No, I probably put it in the drawer. Hopefully they didn't give it away. Who knows?" But somebody got a $50 bill in each one of those.
I have lived that particular thing.
Have you?
So, yes. when Heather and I first got together and we got married and we got, wedding gifts and all that, we had I think, gravy serving dish, whatever, that we never opened because
Yes.
we didn't use it very often. So we opened it and there was like a check in there for quite a bit of money. And it's been a couple of years. So we had that kind of weird conversation of like, can we catch this or should we just leave it alone? Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, it's just the little puzzle box, just something with like a hidden drawer in it, something like that. I still want to wait. I still want to make a watch box case, display case. I collect watches.
Yes.
And I still want to make a walnut burl. Well, actually, I need 3 of them because I just bought a new watch, and it's another automatic, so it requires a winder. But what I want, and I actually have them, but I'm going to disassemble them because they were bought off of Amazon, just little cheap ones. But the mechanism inside I can use, so I'm going to take that and put those into some make a box for it. Those are personal items. Those are things, that I want to do for myself. But like all wood makers, we end up doing things for other people. I was at my office I was visiting another office for my work today, and we were talking about hobbies, and I got into my hobbies of woodworking. I'm showing everything, and 3 people go immediately, I want a nameplate. I want a nameplate. Well, that's pretty simple, and I can do that for them. So I got 3 orders today for just nameplates.
There you go.
Just talking about what you do sometimes and finding out what other people do. They're great icebreakers. When you're sitting around having lunch, what are your hobbies? What are your hobbies? And just getting to know the people around you. At work, sometimes you know who they are, but you really don't know who they are. Creating those relationships. And who knows, they may turn into a customer or a customer, and that may bring you in more business or different things. I get more business from doing that than any advertisement or anything else I have ever done for advertising is by word of mouth and just talking to people or other people seeing the work I've done. Yeah. And you can't beat that. You really can't.
No.
So I encourage people to do that as well. Now, we've been talking this whole episode about me. I want to hear about you, Josh. What's going on? I know you're in training, but you've got plans in your shop, I know, you're revamping how you're doing your web page or your Etsy page and doing some things for that. You want to visit that for a minute?
Definitely. We definitely can hit on that for a quick minute. So I'm continuing to advance my shop redesign, essentially. Head on the webpage here. That's going to be mostly my shop right now on my webpage, and even Etsy is based around, custom orders, or you order, I make it. It's going to be a little bit different moving forward, which means I need to get in the shop and start making some stuff. Before that, I do have about 5 orders and a 6th order I need to do before I get to 0 once again. Luckily, most of those are fairly quick. But the long story short is I'll be doing a lot of mixed media, different stuff like that. I will be messing with more epoxy projects moving forward, not because of any particular reason, other than I like the look of epoxy, and there's different projects I want to actually do that not requires epoxy, but I think look better with epoxy. And so you should be a little different than what I've done in the past, which will allow me to do a little more content, I believe. And in the end, I think it's going to give me some more time back, or at least allow me to dedicate the time I have to spare in the shop versus I have to go in the shop to finish XYZ. But the great thing about kind of shifting gears like that is I can still take, custom orders. Plaques I'll be taking still, just because I enjoy that process. Custom shout out boxes every once in a while, depending on what it is, I could be a little more choosy. And with that, I think it's gonna be a little nicer. I don't have to do every project I'm approached with. I can just do the ones that that interest me. So
That's a great thing. Now you brought up the epoxy, so I want to ask you a question about that. Are you going to be using your CNC to surface your epoxy projects, or using your CNC to V-carve them and then add additional epoxy into that to make it multicolored?
I will be using the CNC for a few different projects. I will be doing, how can I say this, pores, and then using the CNC to cut out different shapes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be doing it multi-layered epoxy projects. And I've realized with the amount of custom stuff I've done over the couple of years, 3 or 4 years I've been doing this, maybe longer now. I don't know. It's gone by fast. That I've dealt with enough media where I can actually start producing the things that, like you said, you're so accustomed to making things for other people. I can make the things I've been wanting to make, not just for myself, but when I make one, I can make 5 or 10, and then that could be a product on a shelf versus me making one thing and then, 5 orders later have to make that same thing or similar item. So
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting in its own right. I will miss the very custom pieces, but I'm still trying to achieve that with the plaques and a couple orders here and there. So I'm looking forward to starting that process. It's probably not going to be full-fledged until the beginning of this next year. I am trying to, with that revamp, there's other things that I have going on that's kind of revamping my own personal life. So once all that's done and said, it's going to be much easier to negotiate that change a little bit better. But in the meantime, I'm learning a lot of different stuff, going through different programs. It gives me more time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And before we wrap up, I was going to wait a couple episodes to kind of announce this, but I think it's about time too. And I was kind of hoping for my other 2 co-hosts to be here as well. But the 30th, the giveaway, I should say. The reason we are doing a giveaway at that point in time is the Sawdust Nation podcast will be coming to a rest, if you will. We'll be shutting down operations for a little while or for a while so that we could all kind of catch up on our own projects in life. And to kind of wrap that up a little bit, that's where the giveaway comes into play. So the cat is kind of out of the bag. I've talked to all the Patreons and let them know. Ben, you've been a Patreon from the beginning, not only a Patreon, a good friend to the show and us. You're like family. So that's one of the reasons you're on here tonight, because I definitely wanted you to be part of the podcast one more time. But we're going to try to give back one more time before we kind of close down or turn the mic to mute and kind of let it rest for a while. So the 30th, please be there. If you've listened to this episode at all, or if you listen to the podcast at all and you catch this episode, the 30th of July, I would like to see you on the YouTube Live. It will mean a lot to see everyone there so that everyone gets a chance to win that last giveaway. I would like to thank the Patreons because every single one I've talked to has donated, if they paid for a year, the rest of the funds to the giveaway. They are donating funds they paid for to ensure the last giveaway is something to be remembered by. So, that being said, we hope to see you there. And, we're going to leave the page and everything up. So, you can still contact us. Hopefully it'll be better. I get back to you because we'll have more time. And
you get to listen to all the old episodes, right?
Yeah, you will be able to listen to all the old episodes. Those will still be published. So everything's still going to be there. And we do have plans knocking around, maybe in the future, coming back and producing some more. What that will look like and when that will be, I'm not quite sure. But I was going to wait till that 30th episode to announce it. I don't think that's fair. I want you guys to all be there and know why you're there. So that being said, Ben, we just hit the hour mark. So do you have anything to say to the audience out there for your final words?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I want to thank you to all the listeners, the other Patreons. I want to specifically say thank you to all of the hosts that I've listened to on this show and the guest hosts, because every episode that I have been able to listen to I've always gotten something out of it. And I think that's one of the things that this podcast tried to do was provide information in a broad spectrum for everybody from all levels, so they can learn something from it. And hopefully I touched on some of that a little bit tonight, for every individual out there. And as several people on this podcast know, my wife has been very sick and just recovered from another major surgery. And that's why I haven't been on as much this year as I wanted to do, or been in my shop as much. So for all those folks out there that have been praying and giving us well wishes, I'd like to say thank you from my heart. And I appreciate it very much.
Again, Ben, thank you for coming on. It means a lot to have you on here. One of the last episodes here. You've been like family to this podcast and myself, and I know the other hosts. My final words for everyone out there is community. That's all. Make sure you are part of the community you choose to be in, because if you're not taking part and giving back, you're not part of the community. It's a two-way street. And with that, get in your shop, go make some sawdust, and we'll see you on the next episode of Sawdust Nation Podcast.
Sawdust Nation out.